Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And here are my top 5 tips for easier early to mid game progression in Monster Hunter Now. But before we get started, here are my Hunter stats. I started September 14th, 2023, and I had no early access. It would have been really nice to have a month ahead of everybody else, right? Lucky ducks of countries. Anyways, I'm Hunter rank 47 as of September 27, 2023, and I hit endgame, which is 6 stars, at September 21st, 2023. So, about 6 days ago. I have over 1,100 large monsters slain, 30 plus hours of gameplay, with 240 kilometers on my Trekker medal, which is 149 miles. For Pokemon Go, it was by kilometers, so I'm guessing that the Trekker medal is also kilometers based on the medal. And I hold the solo world record of Black Diablos kills for the Diablos Invasion event with 16 slain. I haven't seen anybody else post anything of a higher number, so I'm pretty sure I have the world record. And I have 50,250 gems. Yes, I willed. I spent money on the game because I want to invest in it long term, and just to tell you and make sure I know what I'm talking about when it says you don't need to spend money to progress faster in Monster Hunter Now. Tip number 1, don't waste too much resources upgrading early game armor gear, which are the Leather, Jagras, and Kulu sets. They aren't good in the long run anyway, Zenny. Their equipment skills aren't good either, with the exception of the Leather Body, which gives an attack boost equipment skill, which is actually pretty good. Here's an example. The Kulu headpiece isn't worth investing a lot of resources into. Yes, it has lock-on, but there are better items out there that give you lock-on. It gets outclassed defensively by Diablos, Rathalos, and Black Diablos helm without you wasting resources. And in fact, some of the other ones like the Rathian helm, they have better equipment skills that are better suited than lock-on and critical eye, which is what the Kulu headpiece has. Seriously, it's not worth it. I like how someone pointed that, hi, this one has just as much defense, that's higher than the other ones, but didn't look at the equipment stats because they aren't at endgame, or they just don't have the experience to show you that these are a lot more effective in build combinations than it would be using the Kulu headpiece, which just has lock-on and critical. I saw someone make a guide on this that it clearly isn't at endgame because their only gameplay was like 3-4 stars, which isn't bad, but at least know what you're talking about, you know what I mean? And I face-palmed. And here's tip number 2, keep your weapon grade equal to the highest star monster you can hunt. This is a good rule of thumb to follow so that you aren't going too fast and you hit a roadblock, where it's really hard to take out the highest strength monster you can encounter. I made this mistake way too many times as I try to get to endgame. So this is my warning so that you don't make the same mistake I do and you get stuck where you can't kill a monster decently fast at your highest star and you're wasting time and potions. Here's an example. If you have 4-star monsters, make sure you have a weapon that is grade 4 and close to overgrading to grade 5 as possible. You want it as close as you can to where you're going to hit overgrade and poof, you're going to go on to the next grade. And there's no such thing as easier progression, especially when you hit 4-star Rathian and 5-star Legiana. Yes, these tips will make it easier, but once you're getting to that point, the 4 and 5 stars, that's when it gets a little sweaty, and that's when you find yourself having a hard time, which a lot of other videos are like progression videos that I've seen try to give you tips, don't actually show you them getting walled. I wish I had that footage so that you would learn just how painful it is. Tip number 3, master one weapon until you hit endgame, which is 6-star monsters. Each weapon has different mechanics. If you play the main Monster Hunter main series games, you have a better idea of what you want to play rather than others. But swiping and tapping on the phone might take getting some used to versus a controller. I'm a dual blades guy. I love dual blades and I also love the bow, so it's good that the bow is in this game, but I have to wait until dual blades is actually in the game before I start getting really excited and start chopping people up with my dual blades Sword Art Online Kirito / destroy everything. If you know what I'm talking about, we can be friends. Outside of being forced to use the sword and shield, consider using ranged weapons if you aren't sure what to use. Ranged weapons are great because things like the bow and light bowgun, ranged weapons are safer than melee weapons and can save you potions and HP in the long run if you get really good at them. Tip number 4, create a hunting routine so that you can use your first aid meds and potions wisely. You get 5 free first aid meds every day that you can claim in the shop. There'll be this red bag that says literally click on me every day so that you can get 5 free first aid meds. But here's a note, you can only carry 10 max, which is a 2-day supply. You can restore approximately 1 to 2 HP points per minute. I know that's just like a rough estimate, but yeah, that's what it is. And you can only encounter large monsters at 30% HP or higher. So if you're not at 30% HP and you just got nuked, you gotta wait unless you really want to use a potion or a first aid med. Monsters reset every 3 hours starting at 12 a.m. UTC time, so convert your time zone to UTC time to find out when your spawns reset. Here's an example. I'm in California, so that's Pacific Standard Time. So 3 p.m. would be the reset for UTC, but because I'm in Pacific Standard Time, that would be 2 p.m. for me. So yes, convert your time zone to UTC, and when you see that third hour, which is 12, 3, 6, etc., that's when you know your spawns are going to reset. But that's different for gathering nodes, because gathering nodes will reset every 3 hours from the first time you collect from them. So when you collect first from a large gathering node, whatever one it is, you have to wait 3 hours before you can go ahead and collect from it again. This is a good amount of information so that you can create a hunting routine. Create this route that you make every day or every 3 hours so that you can reset, get some rest, do what you need to do so that you can go out and hunt again when the spawns reset. And you make sure that you are saving your potions and you're using your healing items wisely so you don't have to spend money on the game. And tip number 5, I don't know why anybody doesn't have this on their list. Spend money on Monster Hunter now wisely. Gambling addiction is a thing. I'm a mental health therapist. You don't need to blow loads of cash on this game to get ahead of everybody else, because you factually cannot spend money to get a ton of resources, etc., to get far ahead of everybody else. Trust me, I know. You'll see this last thing right here on this slide. It's not necessary to spend money on Gain of Progress if you plan accordingly. If you're a free-to-play player, you can totally make it to endgame without ever having to spend money. And you'll only want to spend money on playing Monster Hunter now if you are planning to play the game long-term. I plan on playing it way long-term. I've been a fan of Monster Hunter Now series since like 2007, and I plan on playing this game way more, like even longer than when I played Pokemon Go, perhaps even longer, which was even 7 years. Potions, double drops only if they're really good, and Zenny are the best items to spend money on, but are not necessary. They're just a nice to have, etc. You can go totally progress in the game without them. And the reason I know this is because personally, I spent a lot on this game so far. Like, if you were paying attention on my hunter stats, I have 50,250 gems. I had a lot more before the Diablos Invasion event. And I spent a few gems on materials today, so yeah, 5-star rarity materials are really hard to go by, so yeah, I spent on doubling up, but there's a reason why I did as well. So yes, as someone that spent a whole lot of money on this game, I'm gonna tell you right now, you don't need to spend money at all. You can perfectly progress and make it far and even play this entire game totally free to play without having to ever spend a dime on Monster Hunter Now. And here are some bonus tips. Kill small monsters to increase your special gauge for large monster fights. They tell you this in the tutorial, but I'm gonna remind you again, your special gauge makes you invincible when you use it. So if you're gonna fight big, large boss monster and you want to fight big, large boss monster, make sure you kill small monsters in between so that your special gauge is full before you engage the large monster. Keep your armor as close to the recommended defensive strength as possible. You have this little recommended thing that pops up if your armor is too low and it says in the red and this is the recommended strength. Keep it at that strength as high as possible. Your armor doesn't need to be as high as your weapon to get to endgame as far as grade goes. For example, you have a grade 5 weapon, your other armor doesn't need to be grade 5. They'd be grade 4 or lower as long as you meet that recommended defense. Don't get greedy, dodge if you see red. This is saving potions and HP. I've done this plenty of times where I've gotten hit by a monster because I got really greedy, and it still happens to this day for some odd reason. So yes, if you see red, make sure you dodge. Red means dead, and you don't want to be in there because you want to save potions and your health points. Use lower star monsters to practice dodging and master attack patterns. I don't know why no one says this in any of their tip videos. Seriously. Unless it's a 6-star, 1-star through 5 stars, I'll do another video on this. But they have different, their attack patterns aren't as aggressive and they don't have additional attacks. So use lower star monsters like 1 stars so that you can master their attack patterns and habits, and you can practice perfect dodging and dodging. It's a great way to save hit points and health resources without having to be like, oh my gosh, am I going to dodge this 4-star monster and I'm gonna die? No, because you have a lot of practice. And you don't need to invest into every weapon element to get to endgame, which is 6 stars. Poison and paralysis weapons can get you very far. I got to endgame by using only the blooming knife, the poison sword, and shield. Yes, Diablos was a pain in the butt, but yes, I managed to defeat him with the blooming knife, and I got to endgame only investing into one element. Don't believe what every other person out there says and says you should spread out and make every weapon of every element. It's a lot of resources and a lot of time, and if you aren't going out there destroying monsters like 2 hours a day or like have like 20 hours of gameplay, it's going to be really difficult for you to get to endgame. I made this video because a friend asked me to make one for his friend who happens to be a Monster Hunter fan as well, and he's starting to play Monster Hunter now. But I'm hoping that this video also helps out a ton of you that are wondering like, what do I do? Or what's some good tips for early to mid-game progression? Here you go, this is it. So do me a huge favor, please like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. It really does help me out. I really do appreciate y'all. Do your best, drink plenty of water, and I will see y'all on the next one.